Hi. In this mission, I'll present the significant areas where we might have a different opinion from the PMBOK guide, or maybe it's not totally different, but maybe somewhat not 100% compliant, if you wish to say that. There are areas that could be hard to accept. Let's face it. Again, we're dealing with a PMBOK guide that some treat it as the holy book. So there are areas that we will be discussing throughout this course that might be hard for people to accept. All what we ask is think about what we're saying. Don't just reject them because maybe you are hearing something you are not used to. As my son Sumar will always like to say, challenge everything. And I would like to add to that, even if it comes from me or from SUKAD. Yeah, you don't like something we say, okay, think about it, challenge it, address it, ask questions, research it, and then make up your opinion. Maybe we have a bad opinion, or maybe we misunderstood something, where after all, we are only human, we make mistakes. So basically, what I'm going to be discussing next is 4 points, 4 major points, where we view things differently from the PMBOK guide. Now, I will not be going into detailed explanation today, but in future mission or in some other areas, I will be expanding on these topics. So let's just look at these 4 areas for now. The first one is pre-project. The PMBOK guide and also ISO 21500, so it's not just a PMBOK guide, and maybe other literatures in project management, consider the pre-charter, the work that is done before the charter that is outside the project lifecycle. Now, there are many reasons for this. We will discuss them in other missions. But for now, let's just say we don't agree. And the reason we don't agree is because we believe the work that is done before the charter or before the project charter is developed is critical work. In that area, we have a concept stage. For example, in the CAMP model, we have the feasibility stage. And technically, both of them is what we call in CAMP as a discovery phase. This is a phase of the project as important as any other phase or stage. Therefore, the project management processes apply to that phase as well. So why is it outside the project lifecycle? Again, I have my reason. Primarily, I will just say a quick one now, because PMI considers that work is led by a sponsor. Well, great, fine, it's led by the sponsor, not the project manager. But here again, we disagree as well. Yes, the sponsor might be the person responsible for the business objective of the project. However, that is a phase of the project. In that phase, there are cost and schedule estimate. There are risks to be assessed. There are quality standards to comply with. So why would that be any different than any phase? And why would the person leading that work should not be skilled in the project management process? That's major area, and you can clarify. The second area is tailoring. Tailoring has always been in the PMBOK guide, except they did not use that word. Now, in the 6th edition, they use the word tailoring extensively, and there are sections about it. The challenge with that is that the way you read it, I mean, if we move away from the intent, if we read the letter of the word of the guide, it somehow implies that the project manager or the project management team would be tailoring the methodology to manage a project. We cannot agree with that. Yes, sure. We are perfectly okay with us, in our opinion, that the project manager could tweak the methodology. But method should be part of the standardized process in the organization. When I read that the project manager is tailoring a methodology, that technically in a way is telling me that the organization does not have a project management methodology, or does not have an organizational project management system. So basically what we are saying is that organization must have organizational project management system which include policies and guidelines and methods that are unique to a given type of project. And then the project manager must comply with the organizational system and use one of those methods that has been standardized in the organization. So in this case, if the project has some unique features that it requires some tweaking, and notice we use the word tweaking here, that's perfectly acceptable. Now let's say, and somebody might say, but Munir, the project might be highly unique, the organization have never done anything like this before. Great, then sure. In that case, the project management team should be developing the methodology or the method that is fit that type of project, and that method should be added to the organizational project management system. So what we are saying here is that organizational project management must be the starting and the ending point. Project manager must comply, and project management team and project team must comply with the organizational system. If there are need for modification, there are need for change, there is need to be agile, or you need to be flying on the roof, up to you. That's perfectly acceptable as long as we do not violate the system. If the system is broken, we need to fix it. If the system needs to be improved, we must improve it. We cannot just ignore it and let every project manager develop whatever they want, because at the end of the day, that's chaos. The third point we want to highlight is the concept of the process group. What we really advise you to truly understand the PMBOK guide, and that's the approach we'll be taking throughout the course, you really need to think of the process group as the processes to manage a phase of the project. Let me say it again. The process group are the processes, and of course with the knowledge area, that are necessary to manage a phase of the project, not the whole project. Projects are managed along a methodology or using a methodology that follow a project life cycle end to end. This is how we manage project. We need a method, a methodology that goes from idea to closure, step by step, phase by phase, stage by stage. That's how we need to manage project. Within a phase, we need those process group. So in other words, and we've had many debates on this, there is no single charter on the project. There is one project charter, but there could be many charters on the project. There is no one project management plan on the project. Sure, there is a project management plan, but every phase have a management plan. And every phase is executed or implemented, to like to use the ISO terminology. And every stage or phase has to be controlled. And at the end, every stage has to be closed. Of course, let's be practical here. Unless you are really working on a very small, simple or micro project that maybe 2 or 3 people working on it for 3 weeks or 4 weeks or a month, then maybe what I just said means nothing. In that case, sure, on these simple or micro project, use the processes and spread them across the life cycle. The criteria here, the keyword is a life cycle. So we will take the processes and spread them around for these small projects. The last point, planning. If you really study the PMBOK guide clearly, and ISO, ISO does a better job in this case. Forgive me, PMBOK loyalist. If we look at the processes of the planning processes in the PMBOK guide, which are 24 of them, and if you study the guide properly, technically that process group, those 24 processes, yeah, from develop project management plan all the way to procurement. Technically, there are 2 types of processes here if you think about it. There are processes about managing the knowledge area. So for example, plan scope management is a process to help us manage scope, which means define the scope, collect requirement, define the scope, and control the scope and validate scope. So plan schedule management is the process about managing the schedule, including planning and control. It's the same thing for all other activities. So technically, every knowledge area have one key process that focus on helping to manage that knowledge area. So collectively, there are at least 10 processes there that will help us produce the project management plan. And that's clearly stated in the PMBOK, but is often misunderstood. Then there are other processes, which are technical processes. For example, collecting requirement, defining the scope, defining activities, estimating. These are activities that are done by specialists. They are detailed work, or what I would like to call detailed planning activities. And those activities produce the project documents. The PMBOK, that's how it shows. It shows a split in a way. Some processes produce a project management plan, and other processes produce the project document. However, in the PMBOK, they are in one process group. If you refer to CAMP, this is one of the areas where we have significantly deviated from the PMBOK guide, and actually we have taken the planning and split it up into two different set of processes to clearly highlight this point. These are the major 4 areas. I mean, obviously I have other areas. I might have things about the project manager role, might have some stuff about quality later, or even the closing process group, especially with PMI deleting one of the processes. I will have many other comments where we deviate from the PMBOK guide, but I will leave them for later. So let me close with something I've said earlier, or maybe in another video. Our core purpose in this course is to help you learn how to apply the PMBOK guide in line with its purpose and intent. I'm not here to help you learn ITTOs or pass an exam. Yes, if I was giving you a course to pass an exam, my focus would be totally different. So let's focus on applying project management. Let's focus on know-how. Let's focus on building competence instead of knowledge. Great learning. Thank you.